Hey guys, Lewis here, and in this video today I'd like to have a little chat about practicing. Playing this style of music, pretty obvious, right? But we need to practice a lot. But it's a question I get asked a lot is about how to practice and what should I be practicing. So I'd just like to have a little chat about that. When practicing gypsy jazz guitar, there's different elements of your practicing you should be thinking about. So from improvising, chords, different types of rhythms, just different ways of thinking in a live gig situation. So I'd like to have a chat about those different ideas. Starting off with the rhythm then. Now, when you're playing tunes in a live setting, quite often I get asked to play with lots of different people that potentially I haven't played with before. So you don't really know about tempos or how they arrange certain songs. So you've got to do it on the fly. But if you have the option of you know, different types of tempos and speeds you're in from there. Let me give you an example. If you're playing the tune I Can't Give You Anything But Love. I've played this tune before at this tempo. So really straight, classic sort of swingy sort of thing. And I've also played it like a full gypsy swing. So what I'd say so far is you've got to practice playing songs at different tempos. Another thing that can happen in a live setting when you're playing with some advanced players is they'll start slow and then they'll pump up the speed. So it's being able to adjust to different tempos on the spot. Let me give you an example. So if I play the ending, and here we go. So, you know, I've changed the tempo there, and that's quite a common thing that a lot of the players do. So it's being able, let's say if you're in a gig setting and you're playing the rhythm on this section, it's having your head up and looking at the lead player and waiting for any cues and being able to adapt to it. But if you practice playing at different rhythms that's nice and steady and then playing it a full whack, then you're able to do that on the spot. So first of all, make sure you're practicing your tunes at different tempos. Also, because we're all human, many a time I've played gigs and I've started either too quick or too slow. So you know you've got to think, I've got a bit quick here, but you've got to be able to crack on and do it because you've already started. So being able to do it all on the spot is very important. So make sure you do that. Rhythm as well, talking about rhythm as chords, you've got to try and think about what set voicings you've got under your fingers. Another thing in a live setting, it's happened to me loads, where people go, oh, let's play this tune. And then, you know, you're on the stage and you go, oh, maybe don't know that one. But if you have a little chart or something, you know, so you can see the chord, being able to look at a chart and sight read it on the spot. So if it said G, right, because we're playing gypsy jazz, we're not going to play a G like this. We're going to use this, or this, or this. So making sure you've got a set voicing for major chords, minor chords, dominant sevenths, half diminish, some set gypsy jazz voicings for them all. That's really important. So as another bit of your practicing, work on some sight reading. Pick a song that, you know, really attracts your ear and I like the sound of that. Find the chords online and just try and play it on the spot. Don't overthink about the voicings, you know, too much. If it says E7, standard E7, it says E half diminish, use that one, or you can use, make sure you've got these underneath your fingers and ready to go. So if you need to sight read, then you can do. So that's another thing you should be working on. Okay, let's have a chat about some soloing. Now, what I would suggest that you do with your practicing is when you're doing your solos, practice initially without any backing tracks. So as a guitar player, that's like, no, that's taking away all the fun, right? But if you watch some of the really great players, they can improvise, spell out changes without any backing track, and you know exactly what song they're playing. You can practice to a click, so with a metronome, or simply just you. So let's say if I pick a nice tune like All of Me. This is bearing in mind that you should already know the changes. You should be practicing your improvising and try and spell out the changes just in your notes. So if I take it nice and steady, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. so when I was jamming then, I'm thinking about every chord I'm playing. Da, da, da. And I played something like this. Da, da, da. Just down an E7, right? This is a topic to get in detail with another video, but I'm spelling out every changes using arpeggios, elements of scales, triads, and licks as well is another thing. We'll talk about that in a second as well. But you've got to spell out the changes. So if I do another tune, something basic like Dark Eyes, da 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 dee da, A7, D minor, da 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 da. Okay, G minor. Have your G minor licks. D minor, A7, D minor. I'm thinking about every single chord change. I'm not just thinking we're in D minor. Spell out every change. Keep it to a pulse. If I play Dark Eyes slowly, hopefully you can hear the changes there. 1, 2, a nice and steady. So a bit of chords in there and things, but you can hear the changes through the chords. So that's something you need to do with your practicing. Initially, take away the backing tracks, because sometimes you can get away with a lot because there's lots of different sounds going on. But if it's just you and the guitar, or just you with a click of a metronome, then you can't hide from that, right? And the last thing is probably learn some licks. So when I'm doing my soloing, I feel like I've got a good amount. I should do some more really, but I feel like I've got a good amount of licks for major chords, minor chords, dominant 7th chord, diminished chords, the sort of voicings you expect to pop up in gypsy jazz. And if you've got some set ideas, once again, you're in the moment and somebody goes, let's play this song, and you go, yeah, I've played that before, but it was a while back. I'll blag it, I'll get through it. And then it says, right, G7, and you go, instead of thinking, oh, I could try this, if you've got a lick, you're in, right? So G7. So there's a couple of licks I've done. I just know, you know, I've just gone on Django Reinhardt records and think, how do I improvise over this? Oh, there's a G7, he plays this lick, work it out, and there we go. And once you've got these sort of foundation of licks, you can improvise over any tune. Every gig, I do the same lick over different tunes in, you know, different positions all the time. But what a great way of playing something that you really feel like you got in. And it'll always sound good, right? So definitely learn some licks. How do you learn licks? For me, I just find my favourite players online and just sit there, slow the YouTube videos down and just intensely stare at the fingers and listen and work it out. There are lots of books available of licks and things as well, but personally, I think the best method is by training your ear to recognise different sounds. Because if you do that, then you can hear something and you, oh yeah, I can work out what he's doing there. Where if you just read from a book or something like that, that's great. You know, some books out there are fantastic, but then you're not really training your ear. You're just sort of copying. So definitely learn some licks too. Last thing just to mention is you've got to have fun with your playing and your practicing. If it's not fun, it's not worth doing. That's the whole point of doing this. So make sure you have loads of fun, and if you can, always have something in the calendar. Whether you've got a local gypsy jazz jam or any sort of gigs that, you know, it doesn't matter where. It could be at tiny little cafes, or I still do them now. Anything. Because that just makes you want to pick up the guitar and play, because you think, right, you know, next week I've got a jam. Oh, you know, a lot of my students say, well, the fact they have lessons with me gives them that incentive, because they go, oh, I'm seeing Lewis next week, so I better get practicing. So that's going to make you want to really play and stay inspired with it all as well. So just a few ideas just to be thinking about with your gypsy jazz playing, and I hope this all makes sense. Any questions about anything, please just let me know, and I always try my best to answer all the comments just below the video. So yeah, please send me a message, and I'm always here to help out where I can. But in the meanwhile, keep it up, keep jamming.